Heidi-ho, ladies and gentlemen. This video is about the blog. A number of students have asked for some clarification of issues relating to the blog, so here they are. The first point is that there are 3 blog topics. You can choose whichever blog topic you want. It's entirely up to you. You only need to choose one of them and you write a blog about that topic. Not 3, just 1. Whichever one you want. Second point is that the way in which you organize a blog is entirely up to you. You can structure it however you want to structure it. Whatever you think is most appealing to you, most interesting, as you see fit, that's fine. As long as you perform the tasks, the intellectual tasks required of you in the course of constructing your blog. The third point is that a minimum number of words, if we want some kind of quantitative dimensions to this blog, the minimum number of words should be about 1,000 to 1,500 words. You can do more than that if you like, but 1,000 to 1,500 words is fine. And the last point is that you must use the blog tool provided within Views. So let's go and have a look at that blog tool now. So you can see how it works if you haven't figured it out already or you're not confident with it. So let's do that now. So here we are on the Views page, the front page. Now we want to go to Blog on the left hand side here. Click on that, and what comes up is the instructions about the blog. So you need to read over those instructions carefully. Those instructions, by the way, are replicated in the learning guide. So if you've read the learning guide, you know all about this. If you haven't read the learning guide, then you should. Anyway, when I referred to the required tasks a few seconds ago, I was referring to this here. Well, this here. So you need to provide clear and rigorous definitions of key concepts, explain key concepts analytically, explain key concepts using concrete real-world examples, explore the debates over the key concepts, explore policy implications, actual and possible policy implications, and the debates that arise over them, and provide references. Those are the sorts of tasks that we're looking for. As you might be getting the impression there, and that impression would be correct, that what we're looking for is really critical analysis, and here we mean analysis which is critical. That is, analysis which doesn't just take as given or take on faith everything that you might happen to read about the topic or the concepts that are involved. I'll probably do another little video on critical analysis later. In any case, it's sufficient that you complete those following tasks, there. And note that on the 4th of January there will be a blog assessment. As stated there, so this is only worth 5%, and it's really just to see how you're going with your blog, to make sure you've started it in some way. So here are the 3 blog topics that you can choose from. You can choose any one of those. So let's say we were going to select blog topic 1. So we'll click on that. So our questions are: do Coles and Woolworths have too much market power? Who benefits and who is harmed by their market power? Do you think their dominance will be maintained over time? Okay. So you should think a little bit about those questions and how they relate to each other. For example, you might think to yourself, do Coles and Woolworths have too much market power? This is a normative question, too much market power. Well, how would you go about thinking about whether they've got too much? What's too much? What's too little? What would that mean? You can think of it in terms of perhaps the who's harmed and who benefits from the market power. You might say, well, a particular group who's important is being especially harmed by that market power held by Coles and Woolworths, so they've got too much of it, for example. So you might think that the first question is dependent on an answer to the second question. Anyway, I'll leave you to think about that for yourself for a while. So there's some stimulus material provided which you should utilize in investigating the topic, in answering those questions. But what we're interested most in at the moment is this link here, blog topic 1. So you click on that, and this is the blog tool. Okay, so you can see at the moment this is my blog, which has nothing in it because I haven't done anything, much like yourself probably. Now we need to create a blog entry. So as I said before, it's entirely up to you how you organize your blog or how you proceed with it. I am not going to tell you what you should do. I'll just give an example of something you might do. You might say start off by thinking about creating an entry on the fundamental concepts involved here. So for example, you might have an entry where you provide a definition of market power, in which case you would have to probably go to your textbook and go to other sources that you might be able to find and look at definitions of market power, the word market, or the phrase market power, and put those definitions in there. Making sure that you reference everything. Make sure you put your references in, and you can put them at the end of your blog entry if you like. That's probably a good idea, rather than putting them into a separate blog entry. Put your references as you've learnt how to reference in business academic skills. So put them into your blog. So you might have you might have an entry on definition, so market power, and then you might discover, well, a related definition to related concept to market power is market concentration, and another one is market competition. I should probably provide definitions of those and see how those definitions are related to each other. Okay. You might even have a definition of duopoly, for example, since that concept might be relevant to this particular blog on the dominance of Coles and Woolworths in the grocery industry. Okay, but what I'll do instead is I'll just provide you with an example of how a different starting point. I might say, call this something like, who are they? And I might say something like, this blog is about the market power used by Woolworths and Coles in the grocery industry in Australia. Before proceeding any further, we should first investigate, inverted commas, who Coles and Woolworths. Yeah. Really are. Okay, so then I might say, okay, I'm going to add some content to that. So I'm going to go, whoop, something I wrote a little bit earlier. Whoop. There we go. So there's a little blurb on Woolworths. Established 1924, one of the largest companies in Australia, blah, 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 blah. Okay, and I might then decide what I want to put in is, to make this a little bit more interesting, I'm going to have a little picture which I created, which shows the different businesses owned by Woolworths. So what I did was, I'll go back. What I decided to do is I'm going to click on this link here, see, insert edit image. So I'm going to take a picture which I've got stored on my computer, and I'm going to insert it here. So this dialog box comes up. Browse my computer. Woolworths Co. That's what I want. Wait, and then insert. Yep. Alright, here we go. And I can make this wider down here. Now that's actually, it's probably too big as a picture, so I'm going to grab it and shrink it down a bit. So it's roughly the same, the font is roughly the same size as the rest of the text. And maybe I'll put it in the middle so it looks a bit better. And I'll create another one for Coles. There's Coles. Wait, insert. Yes. There we go. There's the Coles one. Boop, 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 boop. Should be roughly the same size. Put it in the center. Voila! There you go. There's and then I think to myself, oh, I think I've done enough for today. There's a blog entry on just who Coles and Woolworths are. That seems like a reasonable start to a blog. If I'm doing a blog on Coles and Woolworths, I'll, you know, have some material on Coles and Woolworths. Seems sensible. Not that that's I'm not suggesting that's what you should do. I'm just saying this is one way in which you can could start, for example, before you start exploring the other issues as per the questions provided. Alright, then I go down to post entry. And there's my first blog entry. Turn this off. Okay, so there's my first blog entry. Beautiful. And then other people can comment on that. So I go down here, comment. Someone can comment on it. Obviously I probably shouldn't bother commenting on my own blog, but you know, great entry. Incidentally, that kind of comment would be worth virtually nothing, because I didn't say anything substantive there at all. So that's not a very interesting thing to say. If I'd have said something like great entry, but the pics are somewhat misleading because they refer or they include businesses owned by Woolies and Wallies by Woolies and West farmers that are not really involved in the grocery industry. In that sense, those other businesses are irrelevant to the relevant to to the questions at hand. It is really a form of scaremongering. Okay. And what about their market share to other companies? It is all well and good to say that Coles is big, but how big is it compared to its competitors? That's a more important and relevant question. Okay, that would be a more substantive comment. Okay, so if you've got any other questions about the blogs, then send me an email and I'll reply to you as soon as I get the opportunity. In the meantime, have a Merry Christmas or a pleasant holiday time and a Happy New Year. Don't get burnt by any fireworks.